All right, Kevin with Root Development here with Caleb Meyers from SteelGreen. We are at the Turf Trade Race Days in Millville, New Jersey, right? At
Millville, yep.
At Motor Sports, and we just wanted to do some upgrade discussion on SteelGreen units itself. This is the 52, which I own 2 of, probably 4 years apart. So maybe if you could just run through on the 52, its features, what changes you've made recently, and what guys are going to get when they buy one of these babies.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the basics, kind of do quick run through of just the whole machine, and then we'll talk about the upgrades we've made with our 2025 models that we just released October 1.
Nice.
So 2 30-gallon saddle tanks, so 60 total gallons of liquid capacity. You do have the capability of isolating these tanks and running one at a time if you'd like. 220-pound spiker hopper in the front, 10-foot spray boom is what comes standard, right? So these fold out and they're breakaways back to the machine. We run 6 gallon per minute flow jet pump standard on all of our equipment, or I should say all of our combo sprayer spreader equipment. So this 6 gallon per minute flow jet will do a little over a gallon per 1,000. So that's the quick and easy kind of basic setup. Some of the changes we've made for any of you who have some of our older machines, we went with a different knee pad. So there's a lot more cushion here for the operator. In my opinion, it's also just a cooler looking design. And I like style, I like looks, so I like the new ones personally. The foot plate back here is extended out longer, so a little bit better suspension.
How much longer did you go, you think? 3 or 4 inches maybe?
3 or 4. It's still, if you look, it still doesn't stick out any farther than anything on the back. So the length of the machine doesn't change.
But you definitely can tell. There's so much. There's much more shock absorber.
And the rubber padding underneath is a lot thicker than in comparison to the older machines. While we're back here too, we added a different style of fert tray. So if you notice, they're universal now instead of individually designed left and right. The biggest reason behind that, honestly, was supply, right? Like we always had left side fert trays, never the rights. Then the rights would come in, we wouldn't have left sides.
Fair enough.
It was just this constant back and forth. So again, I personally like the new design of the universal also, but that's one of the changes we made.
This feature I like.
Now, also, we added a fuse block. So all of your fuses for the machine are now located in one convenient spot. So no matter what attachment or anything you add to it, all the fuses are going to go right here. While the machine is on, there are lights next to each fuse. So maybe we have to run it, but we won't make we might have to actually run it, but so if a fuse goes out, it will flash red at you, and then it'll be green while you're going. Yeah. Nice. So you'll be able to just look and see, and like, oh, if my pump went out, oh, maybe the fuse blew, or.
And people that aren't familiar, prior to this, they were all in line to the specific spray pump, whatever's going to be, foam marker, whatever was going to be on there.
Independent tank.
Right. So here it kind of gives you a central location to find an error if there is one.
Correct.
Just to note, I've never blown a fuse. So it's not something that happens all the time.
Well, I tip my cap to you.
I don't know. I just jinxed myself. Yeah. So next week we better get a pocket full of fuses.
The next thing we added is a filter gauge that's on the pump. So if there's any interruption in flow on the suction side, this gauge is going to read it. So way
it reads on suction, not output.
Correct.
Got it. So it's like an air sensor for air cleaner.
Correct. Yes. So you can just look here instead of noticing like, oh, my pressure dropped, or oh, maybe my nozzles, nothing's coming out of the nozzles anymore. Like it gives you an easier access point to see and give you a visual instead of a feel or just being like, uh-oh, something's not right. The last thing, we added a fuel shutoff here on the fuel tank. So, you get to the end of the season, if you still have 3/4 tank or half tank and you don't want to run it completely empty, we can shut this, run all that fuel out, and then when springtime hits, we can add some kind of stabilizer in here, let the fuel run through, and you have a lot less issues getting the machine fired back up in the spring.
Awesome.
So those are the 6 main changes we made. As you guys probably know, though, we're constantly looking to change and evolve, and I'm sure there will be a lot more additions coming as well, but those were the 6 main things that we changed with, you know, these new model machines.
And I think it's important, the changes that you've made, because I basically have a 3-machine lineup like this, 52, 52, and an XL. They're all based on our inputs.
Yes.
And what is being tested on the turf and things that we ask for, which is important. It's not just something that you're looking to change to make your manufacturing easier or cheaper. It's about operator control and being more efficient.
Correct.
I think one of the biggest things, and I was showing a couple guys, is the ease of the cotter pin release for the spinner itself to change out. Like I did one the other day, I didn't realize they're just cleaning. It's like, wow, she's getting pretty thin, and it's a 40-second deal.
Right.
At the most to change one out.
And it's not, what I like too is some of the things we've changed. It's not rocket science, you know, like the cotter pin is a hole in the impeller, a hole in the rod, and a pin, right? It's nothing crazy.
But it's quick release.
But it's quick release, and it's something that our customers were asking for. So that's something that we still, you know, no matter how crazy this gets, or, you know, because of our outstanding customer support, you know, we're still growing like crazy. We still like to listen, you know, to what our customers have to say. Yep.
Another feature before we move on to the next machine is your deflector is actually a true deflector. You know, it's not a flat flap that comes down and is going to diffuse basically on the ground. It actually continues a throw pattern as best it can be for a deflector.
Correct.
Is it going to be 100%? No, but it's going to reduce some of your hard surface blow off.
And what a lot of guys like about this side deflector in general is it being stainless and having the, you know, flaps kind of cut through it, is they can heat it up and bend it kind of to their liking.
Custom mold it.
You know, we have it set at what we think is right and what most of our customer base, you know, is asking for, making sure it's getting back to center. We have some guys though that maybe they want to, you know, kind of have a little leeway, you know, over to one side, so they can heat it up and bend it to however they want, and it's not going to affect anything, you know, on our end for it.
One other thing before we move on, you did change the exhaust shield. I just noticed that, and the extension of the exhaust.
We did.
Itself.
So for anybody who was having maybe some burn issues, you know, with it sitting in one spot for a while, we changed the belly pin, extended the muffler out. And we do have a kit for that for older machines. So you can call our parts guys and we can get that, you know, shipped and sent out to everybody.
One thing I want to emphasize, it wasn't for machines running on the turf. It's basically during your loading time.
It's during your loading time
of the machine moving.
If you're, and yeah, the burning we saw was like if you were sitting in, you know, for 10+ minutes typically in one spot. That was where we kind of saw the issue. So,
and again, hats off to you guys. You heard some complaints or some talk about that, and you went ahead with R&D to actually remedy that, so it's just never a problem again.
Correct.
Well, let's move on to the big machine. Everyone talks, you know, this is the talk of the trade right here. The XL unit, which I'm familiar with quite a few different changes over the time, which is nothing been but advancement and advancement each time I see it, which is awesome. So, you know, let's talk about this. I know it comes with a power horse of an engine in there.
Yeah, so we'll run through, same thing, kind of go through the basics of the machine, talk about, kind of give you the journey of where it started versus where we are now too. So 120 gallon liquid capacity, 14-foot rear mounted boom, comes with a turret nozzle mount. So you could have 3 different rates set up all at once. And it's a manual turn. So you can literally just flip it around to whatever rate you're ready to do.
So your most common nozzles you're going to use in your season, you can have right on there and just make your changes.
And this standard setup we have is, you know, you have your 1/3 of a gallon lavender for your weed control. This is a 1 gallon to 1.25 gallon tip, you know, for a lot of the fertilizer programs. And you have the green 2 gallon tip for
doing some type of fungicide.
Yeah, so that's what the typical setup looks like. But if you order from our factory and you know what rates you're going to do and everything.
And the nice thing about being the electronic, which is super nice. And they move very fast and very quiet.
We had on some of the early machines, we had hydraulic cylinders for the boom, so it was electric over hydraulic, and they were very, very slow. So you mentioning they're fast, some of the early ones weren't that way. So that's something we heard. It's like, okay, it takes forever for a super or a guy like yourself to drop that thing down, and you're just like,
get ready to go. Or to pick up for an obstacle too.
Correct.
Nice storage, which I always like. I like the carrying, you know, it locks in, it's got a bungee for it. Great for storage, transportation, or getting into some of those areas under trees where you're just using the separation. And why don't you talk about the valve breakup, because you can adjust the spray pattern really nice.
Yeah, so we run a 4-section boom on this one. They're electronic nozzle solenoids. So each pair of nozzles is a section. So like this would be your left wing, left center, right wing, and you do all of that with just the flip of a rocker switch. Now, while you're out spraying, no matter what sections are on, you have a master to kick off and on, right? So if you're doing 90% of the time all 8 nozzles and just going, you can just flip one switch off and on the whole time. You don't have to switch all your sections on and off. But like you were saying, if you get into a tight space and maybe you just need your center 2, you can just kick these 2 off and spray right here behind you and you're good. You can also, I like to kind of call this a, I always joke, it's like a redneck individual nozzle spray. So instead of getting into all the tech, we could shut all these off, turn this one in between, nothing's going to spray, and then just spray one nozzle.
So curb line, hard edge, something like that.
You can hit just, you can just use the one nozzle
and not get an overspray into any plants or beds.
Correct. Now, the biggest question with that though that I get is, you know, pressure, right? If I'm shutting off booms all the time, you see those spikes and drops in pressures. One of the features on this machine is a pressure control system. So you have a butterfly valve here, you set your pressure with a rocker switch, and then no matter what you're doing up here or going to the hose,
how many valves are open or
does not matter.
It doesn't fluctuate.
It does not. It will keep it constant no matter what you set it at. Recently, and I believe your machine has the 2 position.
Yes.
Yeah.
For boom and hose.
Correct. So we have it set right now to where you could set 2 separate pressures, and with the flip of a switch, jump from one to the other. Some guys use one pressure for the boom, one for the hose reel. We have other guys that just will, you know, have this as pressure 1, pressure 2, if they're wanting to do 2 different pressures out of the boom even. And
center is prime?
Center is prime. So what the prime function does is it opens this valve up all the way. So you kick the pump on, you know, no pressure, full flow, gets all the air out of the system. And then once you're at that point and the machine's primed, you can go back to boom or hose reel and it remembers what that pressure was. So it'll go right back to whatever you had it set at. So you're not constantly having to adjust and change. So once you get it set to where you want, very rarely are you going to have to actually you know, maneuver that pressure unless you're changing an application.
100-foot hose?
100-foot hose.
1 gallon nozzle, which is
1 gallon nozzle.
Is a great nozzle
and
tip.
this
really
this is a little bit different. This is a hand boom, so it puts out a 4-foot consistent spray versus, you know, a lot of guys are used to those typical plastic adjustable nozzle hose reel wands. So we offer these 2 for the 52s and 46s. So if you call, you can order one of these.
Or an upgrade if you have a machine.
Upgrade, this machine also comes with a 2.5 gallon foam marker. So that's what these nozzles are here on the end. The neat thing about this is we offer a granular 350 pound hopper with storage trays. And you can actually flip this foam marker back and forth. So you can drop for the booms while you're doing your spray, put the hopper on, flip it, and then drop center for your granular so you know where to throw back to. And that's a standard setup on this machine. Nice. This also comes with our hillside assist. So, that's mostly used in golf, right? For tee surrounds, green surrounds. I'm sure you get into some stuff where you need to use it.
So my recommendation on residential, even on the smaller units, 52. So I have 152 that did not have it. It was kind of new to the market, and really, it's an older unit. But the other 52, I bought it. It's the best thing for it. I highly recommend someone doing it and upgrading. It's worth the money. And you may use it 4 times around, right? But when you're using that 4 times an application in the right situation, your operator's going to be safe. It makes it holds. It's not a mechanical leverage. It's a hydraulic pin that actually locks the caster.
Correct, and it's spring loaded too, so you don't have to. One of the misconceptions is like you have to get up on a hill, straighten yourself out, and then engage it. As soon as you start turning, you can engage it with your rocker switch, and that pin will stay against the caster wheel until the hole finds center.
I use it all the time, even for simple stuff that you don't think you need it, but why not?
Why not? Because
it's a great feature,
and it's a standard feature on the XL.
On the big machine,
on the XL, it's standard, right? So you might I agree, you might as well use it.
It's a safety feature, and that's all we're looking for is safety.
And the last feature that comes standard on this is the LED light bar on the front. So some guys go out early. I know I've seen all kinds of pictures that you posted, you know, utilizing that.
It just buys more time. It just buys more time. And the light, it literally lights up the world. You can see what you're doing.
I could turn it on right now, but it doesn't do it justice.
No, at nighttime at sports fields, I mean, check out my Instagram. I got pictures of it. I love it. The only thing I have to do is I'm on granular hopper now. I need to mount one on there. So
Yeah.
we're losing daylight on
Yep.
both ends. So
Right.
I definitely need that. And the only other thing we probably want to talk about is the Kawasaki workhorse.
Yeah,
It's a monster.
we run a 35 horse Kawasaki on these machines. So plenty of power.
Yep.
Plenty of power, plenty on the charging system, never going to have issues there. With this being a bigger machine, you have a lot better access back here as well for your basic maintenance. We were talking about, you know, I briefly mentioned the hopper attachment. That process is very simple. So you can swap this tank out for the hopper, and the hopper back for the tank. So there's 4 bolts, there's 2 back here, 2 underneath. On the liquid side, there's 2 liquid hoses, 1 here, and then 1 on the bottom of the tank. And then we have a lift stand that lifts the whole assembly in 1 piece. So then you can pull out and then drop the hopper in its place with the same 4 bolts, 2 hydraulic hoses, and a cable that just bolts to the dash. And now Kevin has the hopper, so he's done the switch.
And I was honestly very hesitant to doing it because I'd like, wow, take this unit off,
Yeah.
put another unit up, and line bolts up. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is going to be a day.
Mm-hmm.
The cradle that you made actually goes into these pockets, so
Yep.
when either of these 2 units sit down in the chassis, it falls into place and the bolts went right through.
Yeah, it funnels right to where it needs to go.
It took me longer to take the horse out from underneath it and do my maintenance and oil change since it was out there than it was to do this. It was very, very, very simple. I will say that. And I have the hopper on right now. I'll be closing with a granular, and once I get back to location, it'll go full bore for 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
I can't wait.
Yeah. No, we've had a lot of great reception with the hopper. We've been out with that for about a year, I think, roughly now.
Yep.
A lot of great reception. It's one of the few, you know, high capacity machines that still has the maneuverability and ease of use, and
you'll sell that either way. You can buy it as a granular only.
Correct. Yeah.
And,
so you can,
which is so. I'm residential and I have some larger properties, but with that machine, if you're not doing any weed control, you're doing a close or whatever, I'll put that on a 15,000 square foot lawn in the right application. But 30 and up, that machine is killer.
Right. And it still has the adjustable hopper control, right? So you could still do you
can
know,
trim in with
4 to 25 feet with it. So you still have that adjustability and versatility of it as well. So it's been big in golf and athletic turf too. We've had some residential guys, get involved with it too, but
dipping their toes in it. Again, it's not for everyone, but it can definitely fit the need, and I know it's working extremely well for us.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk to you about some of the changes we've made and kind of how this evolved, right? So when this machine first came out, we had a 27 gallon per minute hydraulically driven pump, and that pump did fine. We didn't have any catastrophic failures by any means with it. But we switched to this 40 gallon per minute belt drive pump with an electric clutch, so it's easier to engage and disengage. We were able to eliminate an entire hydraulic pump with all those hoses and fittings. So we cleaned up the machine a little bit.
Less draw on the engine.
Correct.
So you're getting that horsepower direct where it needs to be.
Correct. And I mean, just having the higher flow and better agitation overall, it just seemed like a no-brainer, and it didn't affect really the cost of the machine.
And I definitely see the agitation in the newer model is much better with that pump. And if you're in a jam with a wet basement, that thing can draw a basement down like nothing.
Well, and the other thing too, talking about agitation, in the older models and some of the first ones, we had sparge tubes. Now we run eductor agitators that have even higher flow and mix it more aggressively.
Yep.
So you also have a return line with the fitting coming in to the machine right here on the backside, so it 90s and points down. Right? So you have that coming in the top, you have an eductor on the sides, one on each side. So, and it's putting out in total about 10 to 12 gallons per minute of actual agitation before it goes into the tank again. So it's a lot more aggressive than what those sparge tubes were doing.
And the only thing I would say to that, and I use it, is you're definitely going to need some defoamer, just because of the agitation, which is great. You know what? I'd rather defoam than not have it. Yeah. So I have no complaints about that at all. It works great.
One of the biggest changes we made recently, I think back in May, we officially made the switch. This machine is now all stainless. Originally, it was powder coated mild steel.
Right.
And we didn't have, same thing. We didn't have any kind of like failures or Like the machine didn't fall apart by any means, but being able to have an all stainless, so we're not worried about corrosion, and being the only quote unquote commercial or even golf or athletic turf sprayer that offers an all stainless package is a huge advantage for us. So super happy we were able to do that finally.
It looks better.
It does. I
looks
agree.
Sharp. It looks sharp.
I agree. So we're looks guys, so it does. It looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, we put an image out. We want green grass. We want great looking equipment on there, so it ties all together.
Yep. We were talking about the boom a little bit. This boom comes from Wilscott Boom, so they specialize in featherweight aluminum.
That's all they do.
That's all they do. So we had our own design boom. It was a little too lightweight for this style machine and for some of the properties it was going on. We offer extended boom options as well. So we offer 16 and 20 foot booms for this machine. And we went to Wilscott for those originally, and they said, hey, we can do a 14 too if you want. We don't offer it, but we can do it. And we were like, yeah, sure.
Sign me up.
Yeah, let's see what happens. And I mean, it's been one of the better additions and upgrades we made to the machine overall, is having this boom on here. So
if this is something that interests you guys, I mean, if you're green, you want to go greener. If you're yellow and you want to go green, SteelGreen's great at doing demos, especially if you're looking at the larger version. That's basically what you do, is you travel the show circuit. You go to those specialty golf markets, sports fields, larger clients that want to come and demo one of these. Any of your other units, there's dealers in every state, easy to reach out, but we'll have Caleb's information in the show notes for this as well, and SteelGreen itself. Their website's easy to navigate. Probably the last thing I want to close with the service department is just ridiculous. It's awesome. You call, you email, Cody, Mike, I don't know, I guess they just don't sleep. They answer right back, and they're really accurate in their answers.
It's funny you mentioned Cody, because Cody's technically a sales rep.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, but he comes from a very extensive technical background. So he grew up on a farm, turning wrenches since he was 6-7 years old. Then he was a tech for a Chevy dealership, tech at a Bobcat dealership. So when he came over to us for sales, I mean, he could build one of these machines up and down, inside and out, no problem, right? So he does take a lot of service calls, but he actually technically is a sales rep.
I didn't know that. I thought he was a go-to guy for problems. Definitely in the forum, he's great. I mean, and you can reach out to him at any time with an email, a text. He's phenomenal getting back there.
No, we're very active on social media. More specifically, we have a SteelGreen owner-operator Facebook page. I mean, we have 4 or 5 guys, including a couple of our owners, that watch actively and answer questions. And I think it's a great asset. If you're looking at switching to our equipment, we'll let anybody in. You can read through the conversations and learn a lot from that page as well.
Awesome. All right, I appreciate the update on the new ones. We try to catch them every year at this event. Again, SteelGreen.com. They have everything that you need in the fert business. I also want to mention, if you do own something that's yellow, your parts department carries just about everything for them other than their plastics. I mean,
a lot of our parts are compatible. Yeah, so if you got a yellow machine and you're curious, give us a call. We'll be able to at least point you in the right direction if we don't have it.
Because we have some viewers that have reached out lacking parts in that other company, and I said this is where you go, because they'll have basically the same crossovers. All right. Thank you, Caleb. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.